Bing Crosby is a household name, beloved for his smooth voice and iconic holiday songs like White Christmas. But beyond the velvet voice and Christmas cheer, there's a whole world of strange, quirky facts about Bing that most people have no clue about. From unusual hobbies to a secretive personal life, Bing's story is filled with bizarre moments that don't make it into the Christmas specials. If you think you know everything about this legend, think again. Let's dive into the 10 weird facts about Bing Crosby that might surprise you. 10. Bing Crosby had a pet lion. Bing Crosby had an unusual hobby. He was a huge fan of exotic pets, but none were as famous as his pet lion, named Toto. Yes, Toto, like the famous dog from The Wizard of Oz. Bing actually owned a full-grown lion at one point, and the lion was a known fixture at his home. Now, before you start picturing Bing playing with a massive lion on a whim, you should know that Toto was kept under careful supervision. He wasn't just roaming free, but the fact that Crosby had a pet lion at all is completely bizarre. Imagine inviting your friends over for a dinner party, only to have the doorbell ring and there's a lion casually lounging in your living room. He was a pro at the casino. Bing Crosby was no stranger to the casino. In fact, he had a major gambling problem for much of his life. It was said that Bing could be found in casinos around the country, placing large bets on blackjack and poker. His gambling habits were often so intense that they caused problems in his personal life and strained his relationships with his wives and children. What's even more fascinating is that Crosby wasn't just lucky at the tables. He was actually very good at gambling. His success at poker and other card games became legendary, but the stakes were high, and it eventually led to massive debt. Bing's personal life wasn't the only thing that suffered. He lost several significant amounts of money through gambling, which at one point put him in serious financial trouble. Despite the setbacks, Crosby continued to gamble well into his later years, though he did try to keep it out of the public eye. It wasn't until his later years that he started to distance himself from the casino life, though the damage had already been done. 8. Bing Crosby's voice was so iconic it couldn't be imitated. Bing Crosby's voice is one of the most instantly recognizable in history. But what's even more bizarre is that his voice was so unique that no one could ever truly imitate it. You see, Crosby had a very specific vocal technique, and his voice had a timbre that was almost impossible to replicate. It's said that Crosby's voice was the product of a combination of genetics, training, and pure instinct. While others tried to mimic his signature smoothness, no one ever came close. Crosby's voice became so iconic that imitators were often laughed off stage, as audiences could tell right away that they weren't listening to the real deal. In fact, Crosby once joked about how people would always try to copy him, but no one could ever get it right. This odd uniqueness only added to the mystery of his incredible vocal talent. Bing Crosby was a father with a very strict parenting style. Behind his public persona as the charming, easygoing entertainer, Bing Crosby was, at times, a strict and authoritarian father. His children, especially his two sons from his first marriage, Gary and Dennis, were subjected to a strict upbringing. Crosby, who grew up in a tough working-class family, believed in tough love and discipline, often using physical punishment as a way to discipline his children. While Bing was known to be loving and affectionate when he wasn't disciplining, his strictness created significant friction in his family life. It led to strained relationships with his children, and over the years, his sons would speak out about their difficult childhoods, including the emotional distance they felt from their father. 6. Bing Crosby was notorious for his late-night pranks. Bing Crosby, despite being one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, had a mischievous side. He loved to play pranks on his friends and colleagues. One of the most famous pranks involved a long-standing joke with actor Bob Hope, his partner in comedy and the Road movie series. Crosby would often prank Hope by showing up at the set for their movies with outrageous props or costumes, leaving Hope completely dumbfounded. One time, Bing even sent Bob a package that appeared to be an old, broken-down gift, but it contained an elaborate prank that left Bob laughing and, no doubt, a bit frustrated at Crosby's wit. 5. Bing Crosby was the first to own a home with a built-in record player. Bing Crosby was always ahead of his time when it came to technology, and his love for music wasn't just limited to his voice. In fact, he was one of the first people to install a built-in record player into his home. This was in the 1940s when many people were still listening to records on portable turntables. Crosby's modern touch made him the talk of the town, as no one had ever thought to combine entertainment and home design quite like him. Crosby's love for cutting-edge technology didn't stop there. He was also one of the first people to embrace the concept of television broadcasting, and he used it to promote his music and his career in ways that no other entertainer was doing at the time. 4. He was a silent film star before he was famous. It's easy to think of Bing Crosby as a musical legend, but before he became a household name, he was actually involved in Hollywood's silent film scene. In the 1930s, Bing appeared in a number of films, though he wasn't yet the star we know today. His role in the movies wasn't as prominent as his later work, but his involvement in the early days of Hollywood gave him a valuable foot in the door. In fact, some of his earliest films are almost forgotten today, overshadowed by his legendary singing career. But it's a testament to his versatility that Bing was able to make the transition from a lesser-known film actor to the iconic figure we remember today. 3. Bing Crosby was the first celebrity to sign a multi-million-dollar recording contract. Long before the huge record deals that today's stars enjoy, Bing Crosby was a pioneer in the world of music contracts. He was the first celebrity to sign a multi-million-dollar recording contract, a move that shocked the music industry. This deal set a precedent for future artists and cemented Crosby's status not just as a performer, but as a savvy businessman. His groundbreaking contract with Decca Records in the 1940s made him one of the highest-paid stars of the time, paving the way for future music legends to follow suit. Crosby's ability to turn his fame into financial success was one of the early examples of how stars could take control of their own careers in an industry dominated by major labels. 2. Bing Crosby was a big fan of magic tricks. Not only did Bing Crosby sing, act, and produce, but he also had a hidden talent: magic. Crosby was an avid fan of magic and could often be found entertaining friends with tricks up his sleeve. He had an impressive collection of magic tricks and was even known to perform some card tricks and illusions during his downtime. It's strange to think of someone like Bing Crosby, the voice behind White Christmas, enjoying the world of sleight-of-hand tricks. But it was just one of the many hobbies that made him more fascinating than most people knew. 1. Bing Crosby was obsessed with golf to a fault. You probably know that Bing Crosby loved golf, but did you know how much of an obsession it truly was? Crosby didn't just dabble in golf like your average celebrity. He was downright fanatical about it. In fact, he was one of the first major celebrities to bring a mainstream interest to the sport, using his fame to host golf tournaments that would go on to become staples of the sport. But it wasn't just about playing the game for Crosby. His obsession ran so deep that he would often sneak away from his family and other engagements just to play golf. He even bought his own private golf course in California, and for a time, it seemed that golf was more important to him than almost anything else in his life. Crosby's golf addiction, at one point, led to strained relationships with his family, who felt like they were constantly competing for his attention with the sport. Want more surprising stories about legendary figures? Check out the next video popping up on your screen.